G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the third installment of the Sainte-Croix Marathon. Here, what we're doing this week. So, if you don't know by now, if you haven't checked out the last two videos actually, I need you to go and watch those before this, so you get the good chronological happenings of what was going on in this week, in this daily race C, Sainte-Croix C in reverse in Group 4. So what we're doing, this is day 3 of 4 videos in a row across 4 days around this combination here. I do hope you're enjoying so far, those of you who have watched the previous 2. For those just joining us, remember, do check out the previous videos. But we are actually on pole position for this race here. We got, I'm going to talk about the previous races. We had some questionable penalties in the last video, and it's put us in one step down, one step lower, DR lobby level, or SR rather, SR lobby level. So we're now in pole position up against some slightly slower players, but although we have this Audi TT behind in the name of Cedars Proud _ GT, who's actually going to put us, give us a run for our money essentially. So we are on the pole position here, but as long as the Audi TT behind can stick close enough as we head through these opening couple of sectors, he's going to get a nice tow down that straight. The Audi TT in the slipstream is actually fairly okay in a straight line, but without slipstream it doesn't fare so well once it gets into 6th gear. You can see it was very, very narrow for the turn onto the straight, turn 9 there, but he does have the slipstream as we head down the straight. The Audi TT, very strong accelerating car. So that allows it to crawl back into, or further into, the slipstream range as the Lamborghini, so it takes a little bit longer to get up in speed, but it can get a lot higher in speed than the Audi TT. So we adjusted our brake balance there, +4 to even out the tyre wear in this car, 4-wheel drive vehicle. So we set our brake balance to the back to even out some tyre wear. Doesn't go all the way even, but it helps quite a bit. You can see Cedars Proud put a nice move on us through the turn at the end of the straight, turn 10, up the inside essentially, as we kind of washed a little bit wide, but he is ahead. But I do have the slipstream. We're heading in towards a difficult section for an FF car. That Audi TT of course is an FF car, so it's going to struggle in this section here. You can see there's some flat out sections. It's easy to do, but it can cause a lot of understeer in those FFs as they're heading uphill as well. So those front wheels are pulling the car up the hill, and they don't have the grip. They can't grip enough to sort of get the car quickly into the corner and keep it into the corner. It washes wide a little bit and exacerbates tyre wear as well. But you can see he's running slightly defensive as we head into turn 17 here, and we are going to be trying to get a move past. We saw in the previous video there were a couple of moves at this section of the track up the inside of 17, running side by side, and then finished off the move in 18. So two right-handers, two 90-degree right-handers with a very, very short bit of straight in between. Very good for putting an overtaking move, especially if they run wide on the first part. But you can see Cedars Proud is just picking up a little bit of lag there. You can see he's washing wide and then just jumping further to the inside. So that is worrying. Hopefully that kind of sorts itself out. We've both got a signal strength of 3 at this point. So my internet was struggling a little bit as well, which is a little bit unusual. I've paid for fairly good internet, but does show some cracks, probably because this was done in the evening, maybe peak time, peak use. But yeah, there can be a lot of factors, of course. But coming back to the race, we went up the inside at turn 22 there. You can see the Audi TT went very, very deep, and we have gotten out a 6/10 lead on that Audi heading up the top straight here, running a little bit wide through turn 23, and that just loses us a 1/10 or so. You can see he's now 5/10 behind as we head down the hill through the final turn. It's not really a corner in these cars, or in any car really, but that Audi TT has got a fairly good tow heading down the front straight, the pit straight here. We think about going defensive, but I thought no, it's just better go to the outside, let him go for the move, and it hopes he runs slightly deep. We're going to get a cut back, but he pulls it up beautifully there, but we get a slight little bit of contact there, and that is worrying in terms of a penalty, which shows its face there. What an absolute joke, honestly. these penalties are ridiculous, so that we, you know, suffered quite brutally against penalties, at the hand of penalties rather, in the previous video, but you can see that trend is continuing, so that is down to the penalty system. I don't feel like that contact, if there was any, well, there definitely was, but what I'm saying is that contact was so light there might as well have not been any contact at all. I would, you know, go as far as to say the Audi TT may not have even noticed that he got a slight tap from behind on the exit of turn 1. He put on a fairly good offence going through turn 1 and put on a fairly good move as well. So I lost out to that, and I'm now about to lose out to this 1 second penalty. You can see he's swerving left, swerving right, trying to break the toe. I hope that isn't a sign of him thinking that weaving aggressively as a defensive mechanism is an appropriate thing to do, which it of course is not. But breaking the toe is kind of okay in terms of weaving, but if you're weaving to essentially block any cars from moving past you, then that's a bit of an issue. Well, we served that penalty and dropped 2.3 seconds back. As we head through turn 10, we're going to see the official gap 2.2 seconds behind Cedars at this point here. You can see we're 7.3 seconds in front of the guy in third, so but both of us here are quite clearly fairly paced against each other, but way overmatched for the rest of the field. You can see actually up on the mini-map in the top right hand of your screen, the rest of the pack is actually fairly close together, especially from about maybe third, fourth, fifth or back. Fifth and back is pretty much the entire field, one after the other, with hardly any gaps in between. But you can see going up through this uphill sort of twisty section here, the part of the track where the FF cars struggle, we catch up quite a bit of ground, about 1.4 seconds on the exit of turn 15 there, and as we keep it nice and tight through turn 16, that gap sort of stays at 1.3 actually, or just dips down to 1.2 as we head through turn 17. He runs a little bit wider, touches the grass, as do we, but we do not touch the grass for as long as the Audi TT up ahead does, and heading through on the exit of turn 18, the gap is about to go below 1 second, but we know that mid-speed acceleration of that Audi, that low to mid-speed acceleration of the Audi TT is very strong, and he just opens up that gap a little bit more, although on the exit of turn 19, it merges into turn 20, we catch up almost into slipstream range. He runs extremely wide through turn 21, that's going to be the nail in the coffin there, and it's going to put us into firmly into slipstream range. He runs very wide going through turn 22, and we are firmly back into that slipstream range, although 1/10 behind, or 2/10 basically, was a little bit too close on the exit of that corner to get a good slingshot past, so we just dropped back by virtue of just, you know, keeping in that dirty air and just allowing that higher acceleration of the Audi to open up the gap. We just drop a little bit further back. He runs a little bit defensive into the second to last corner, and he touches the wall on the way out, and that puts us going around the outside of the final corner. We don't quite pull that move off there. Coming past the pits, neither of us goes in, so it's a pretty safe assumption that both of us are on medium tyres at the moment, so that is why we are actually having a fairly close battle here. You can see he runs it narrow into turn 1 there, and we get a better exit than him. Looking around the outside for turn 2, it's a move that's possible but very difficult. We run it in, and he just keeps us wide as he before he turns in there, he kept us much wider, and we were unable to turn in as early as we would have liked. But that was a fairly good defence there from that Audi. He's suffering a little bit of lag as we head through this flowy opening sector there. We just touch our rear left tyre onto the grass, and we almost spin out, but we were able to catch that as the Audi runs wide through turn 6, and that's going to put him narrow through turn 7 and 8, and hopefully we can get a move up the inside. Massive lag spike there from the Audi TT. Look how narrow he runs it through turn 9 there, and you can see it puts him slow on the exit. We also have the slipstream. This is going to be a fairly clear-cut overtake as long as he doesn't weave all over the place, but the straight, I guess, is long enough for me to get past, even if he is weaving. But you can see we weren't as far back as, we weren't, the optimal distance back, but as that Audi TT reaches its top speed, the Lamborghini here has a 7th gear to continue accelerating, and you can see we drive straight past him as we head into turn 10 here. As long as we can keep it narrow enough, he's not going to be able to look up the inside. We drop to third gear to sort of get the car to slow down and stay tight there. And you can see how close he is looking for a move up the inside of this right-hander before the bridge here. And you can see he doesn't quite pull it off. I don't feel like he was alongside far enough for me to give him space, so I kind of turned in on him a little bit. But I feel like that was... that was a fair thing to do there. Turn 11 drops away a lot on the exit, so you want to keep it tight anyway. Same story for turn 12 here, the left-hander at the end of the bridge, similar nature to the right-hander before the bridge, but as we head through this uphill section now, the Audi TT is going to struggle. You can see he's dropping back. As we head up the hill through this acceleration zone, it remains a traction zone for the Audi TT in any other car, or any other car that isn't an FF. We almost spin out again. You can see a massive tank slapper as we just graze that grass on the exit of turn 15 there, and you can see it puts us susceptible to a move into turn 17, and that Audi TT Ort was looking around the outside but doesn't quite get the move done. Very close behind at this point, but he runs slightly wide and doesn't carry the minimum speed through turn 18 that we can. Here, maybe he's suffering from a little bit of tyre wear at this point in the race, but we are 5/10 ahead of him at this point here. We were like, we were side by side at one point there, so it just goes to show that that Audi TT can drop off extremely quickly, or the FF cars can drop off extremely quickly. Heading through turn 21 at this point, you can see for some reason we wash completely wide, and we didn't brake late. I went down into third gear as I normally do. The Audi TT followed me off, and he completely escorts me off the track here, and face plants us into the barrier on the exit of the very tight turn 22, and he completely just drives off into the distance. To be fair, we both did drive off the track, but he escorted me into the barrier and has just continued on. I feel as though that, yes, he may have had dirty tyres, and actually I questioned him in the lobby afterwards and he said, yes, sorry, dirty tyres. And I was like, look, fair enough, but in a situation like that, when you escort someone off the track like that, face plant them into a barrier, I feel as though the good thing to do is slow down and give the position back. But he didn't do that at that point there, so, we're just going to have to try and catch up to him on merit. I think I am actually slightly quicker than him. He goes into the pits there at the end of lap 3. I decide to stay out another lap on the medium tyres, so discussed earlier in one of the earlier videos, you can do either 3 or 4 laps on the medium. I was in a battle there, but I went for the extra lap anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see at the end of lap 4 where we finally come in for our last set of tyres. It's going to be the hard compound tyre for the last lap of this race. It's going to be cool to see if we can get that overcut. We have not, or undercut rather it would be. No, overcut actually, sorry, yes, of course, if you stay out long, you're looking to get an overcut. It's harder to do than an undercut, but we attempted it there. We got actually a slight overcut actually there. We're 1.1 seconds behind the Audi TT. We were over 2 seconds at the exact point where we went into the pits there. So my forced lap on my medium tyres, it was about 1 second quicker than his lap on the new set of hard tyres on the Audi. So we've got a lap to catch up a second here. We've got 1 lap fresher hard tyres here, and the Audi TT up ahead has done 1 lap on the hard tyres. Heading through the opening sector, you can see as we head through that turn 6 there, very clear. It's got very much a grip and downforce corner turn 6, so if you have more grip, you're going to carry more speed through there. We were able to carry enough speed through turn 6 to get us to within, almost touching slipstream range, and then I know that launch that the driver up ahead gets off turn 9 isn't that great, so we were able to get into slipstream range. Heading down the straight, we're going to be firmly in the toe here. We're about 3 to 4 tenths behind that Audi TT at the start of the straight there, but he has seen me and is letting me go. He had a left indicator on just before I made my way past there, acknowledging that he was going to comply with the overtake, which is the right thing to do there. It was pretty clear what was going to happen. There was absolutely no way of defending that, no matter how defensive you went within what's allowed in terms of going defensive. He goes for that half-hearted launch into turn 12, into turn 11, but it's not quite on there, going for that late dive down the inside where I was already turning in and the apex was already mine. He was definitely not at any point alongside far enough for me to give him some room, so we didn't, basically. I also kind of didn't really see him until his nose was touching the back of my car. but we skip ahead. That was the move for the lead, and that's where we stayed for the rest of the race. 1.6 seconds ahead of Cedars Proud at that point there. So it was actually a fairly good race, although we did have a penalty and we did go off the track and get our face planted into the barrier. We still beat the guy, so yes, I think over a race distance we were significantly faster than that Audi driver there. But it's another victory here at Sainte-Croix. We're going to move on. Hopefully we can replicate. Hopefully, actually, we can get into a higher SR lobby thanks to us getting a penalty. That may not happen, but you can see some of the drivers' names here. We're back racing Greddy here, which indicates to me that we actually have made our way up into the high split again. We've got Corey Hack in the BMW ahead of us, and GT Rebecca, very, very quick player actually in the Audi TT. She's very quick at this game, one of the quickest that I've ever raced, to be honest, in terms of being matched up against people of a similar caliber to me. Yes, but very quick for the lead, so it's essentially her race to lose, and Greddy has that Audi TT sussed right out. He's got the strategy exactly how he likes it, and he can do a very good job. The BMW almost smashes into that Michelin sign that juts out on the exit of turn 4, and you can see how close we are to Corey Hack at this point here. I've raced Corey before, I've been in qualifying with him as well. I know I'm faster than him, especially with that lag there. Look how much he lagged on going through on that transition from turn 8 into turn 9. You can see how close we are to the back of the BMW at this point here, and it's not actually, you never want to be that close going onto a straight because you can't get a slingshot past. But I think the BMW has a bit of, has a disadvantage in terms of straight line speed, as once the Lamborghini touches that 7th gear, that BMW has 7 gears as well, we completely just out-drag him there, and we can see the gap to Greddy up ahead, over 9/10 it was just at the point where we got ahead of Corey. That was not enough for Corey to be getting any slipstream effects from the Audi up ahead. We wash slightly wide into the barrier going through turn 10. BMW follows us off, so he's not able to take advantage of that as he falls victim to it too, and we remain in the podium paying position of 3rd. We skip ahead to turn 16, turn 17 of lap 2 here, where the gap's essentially just opened up between us, so we're just keeping an eye on the battle for the lead essentially at this point here, as the only thing we can hope for at this point is that the two up ahead begin to fight heavily as Greddy wants to make his way past, and is in the slipstream of GT Rebecca. They're in the same machinery. I think Greddy will be on the harder tyre to start with, as that's the strategy he'd like to go for, hard to medium, so he's on the softer tyres for the closing stages of the race. And GT Rebecca, I'm not sure what tyres she's on, but I assume it would be medium, unless she's also tested both strategies and found the hard at the start to be more comfortable for her. But you can see we've caught right up as we head through turn 22 here. Obviously Greddy getting held up by Rebecca a little bit, and you can see they're going defensive on the entry to the straight there. Rebecca over on the left hand side of that circuit to try and stop Greddy from going up the inside, and just as Greddy commits to the outside, they begin to feint over to the right hand side. The straight has an extremely slight kink to the left. You almost can't work it out until you realise you're going straight in the middle of the road, and then you end up under the brake boards. And you can see GT Rebecca goes wide, touches the barrier, and we just run into the back of her, lose all our speed, and gain a 1 second penalty. Oh man, how frustrating is that? So we've seen some very questionable penalties. They actually both go into the pits here. Rebecca on medium, Greddy on hard is suspected there. I'm not sure what Rebecca's doing. Those medium tyres, can easily do 3 laps, and you get quite a bit of an advantage by doing an extra lap there. But they all go into the pits. That leaves us 4.2 seconds ahead of Corey with a 1 second penalty to serve on the 1.8 kilometre long straight. That's going to really kill our momentum as we head down the straight. That BMW, as we know, not the best in a straight line compared to the Lamborghini, but it's more than strong enough to hold its own. We go into the pits at the end of lap 3. Corey Hackett and Greddy have already made our way past as we sit in the pit lane getting serviced. On the exit of the pits here, you can see the pair way up in the distance going through turn 1 right now, and we have fallen out in 3rd position. GT Rebecca down in 6th, so has lost out in the pit stop phases. I do not know what has happened to Rebecca there, but she's completely lost out and is going to finish the race in 6th position. I assume we'll see at the end here where she finishes, but ultimately we came out so far behind Grady and Corey that we weren't able to even catch up and make any more positions there. Due to Rebecca finishing in 6th at the end. We almost got to the back of Corey, but it wasn't quite enough in the end. We finished 3rd. We qualified 4th, remember, so could be worse. We're gaining 1 position, but that could have gone a lot better. So essentially that race there, Rebecca lost out. She obviously got held up on the exit of the pits, or went off the track, or got binned off, or crashed into or something. But that's quite unfortunate. But Grady coming in with another victory over 9 seconds ahead of Corey. So that strategy he's got working very well for him. We may very well have to try that one out ourselves. But we'll see where it goes in tomorrow's video, the last of the 4 races, or the 4 videos around Sainte-Croix here. Do stay tuned for that. But as for this one, do leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, including tomorrow's, and leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, always very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.